Hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Would like to thanks to the Almighty God, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, for the help and blessings. So today we could have a look at our meet again in the third meeting of the program of or under the program of the distance learning pembelajaran jarak jauh 2021. So let me continue my explanations after we talked about last week about the qualitative research methods on ELT. Today I'm going to continue our course. So it's about quantitative research. In this occasion, I would like to tell you that there are three main methods in the quantitative research. The first one here, we are going to talk about the experimental research. The next one, we are going to talk about the correlational research. And the last one, we are going to talk about the survey. So those three things are going to be the lessons for this week. Okay, so the objectives of learning this course is that you're going to be able to describe. So after you learn the lesson, you're going to be able to describe the characteristics of the three main methods in the quantitative research, as I mentioned: experimental research, correlational research, and survey. And the third one is that you're going to distinguish among those types of the research methods. So we hope that, or I really hope that you could understand it and comprehend it well during my explanation. Okay, so let's have a look at or jump or hop into the first research method in the quantitative research, that is experimental research. First of all, we are going to see to have a look at what is actually the experimental research. Yeah, so experimental research is scientific research, which is the researcher, you later as a researcher, manipulates one or more independent variables. So you are going to manipulate the one or even two or even more variables. So in the experimental research. So and the controls of the in the experimental research is one of the characteristic of the this research of methods. So researchers experimental research is scientific research. The researcher manipulating the independent variables. So independent variables in bahasa Indonesia is variable bebas. Yes. Okay. So in the quantitative research, it's categorized, or it's the, very important for you to notice that there is things, or there are two things that you have to pay attention, that you have to know that in your research it contains independent or dependent variables of your research. So in order to have a look at or measure the cause and effect or even the relationship. And the characteristics of the experimental research is, there are three main things here for the characteristic. The first one is it has the control. So it controls. It has the control group or a control class or a control participant. And the second one is it, as I mentioned, researcher manipulate the independent variable. And the last one is it is done through the observation and for a measurement, numeric measurement. Okay, so control, the control one is a control variable is that the essence of the experimental method. Okay, And then also the manipulations of the independent variable is also another crucial things in the experimental research. Okay, so that's actually a brief explanations of what experimental research and its characteristics. Next, we are going to have a look at the types of the experimental research. Here, the first one is pre-experimental designs. So experimental research designs consisting of 4 designs. The first one is pre-experimental designs. And then in the pre-experimental design, there are 2 methods here, or 2 category here. The first one is one group pre-test, post-test design. Here is the one group pre-test and post-test design. For example, you do the research in only one class, so you give students the pre-test and then you give them treatment. After that, you give them the post-test, but only for one group or one class or one group of participants. There is no the comparison group, so only one group. And the second one is static group comparisons. Also, the second design of the experimental research is the true experimental design. Okay. Here I provide you 5 categories of this true experimental research. The first one is randomized subjects. That is a post-test only control group design. And the second one is a randomized match subjects. So you random the subjects, match subjects. And then for post-test only control, yeah. So for only in the control group or in a control variable, on you match or you random the match subjects. And the third one is a group design randomized subject, a pre-test post-test, yeah, control group design. So in the control group design only. And then the fourth one is Solomon 3 group design. And the last one is Solomon 4 group designs. That is the second research design or research method in the experimental. Have a look at here, the next one. So the next one here is factorial design. I give you a very brief explanations about factorial designs. It's a simple so the category the type of the factorial design is a simple factorial design. Okay, all actually this data as assessing or measuring the numeric data, comparing, having a look at the cause and effect, or even yes, cause of effect of having the pre-test treatment and also the post-test, whether there is an influence, an effect, or an improvement or after the treatment. The last one is for the experimental research design is quasi-experimental design. There are 2 types of this design, that is non-randomized control group pre-test post-test design. So non-randomized. In the true experimental design, we have if you see in the slides, it's actually in comparison or quite different between true experimental designs and experimental design. So in experimental design, there is a called non-randomized, but in the true experimental design, it's a randomized. So the control subjects are random, but in the quasi-experimental design, the control group is not randomized. Okay, so it's so in this quasi-experimental design is very popular for and familiar, used by the bachelor degree students of pre-service teachers at the Universitas Muhammadiyah Kendari. Actually, in experimental research design, they are very familiar with these two in applying or implementing this design, pre-experimental and quasi-experimental design. Okay, and then the second type is the counterbalance design. Okay, the counterbalance design. So it's brief of the explanations. At least you know that these types of each of the designs in the pre-experimental designs, they're consisting of 4 designs or methods, and you have known just now about what's actually experimental research design characteristics. That's all for experimental research design. If you have something to ask, you can also write in a chat box in a yellow mark, or you can also directly ask through the WhatsApp group as I attach we are in a group or WhatsApp group. The next one is about the second method in a quantitative is about correlational research. Here, actually, it's very brief to let you know that correlational research is to assess the relationship. Okay, whether it's relationship to relationship, so A and B, or independent to dependent, or even multiple. Okay, multiple relationships. The second one is to assess consistency, and the last one is to predict. Okay, or predictions. That's why in a quantitative research, one of the, if you remember the first meeting, I told you that quantitative research is to prove or to measure or the hypothesis. Okay, to answer the hypothesis. And then, so there are 3 things to find out the correlations. So using the formula of person product moment manually, or you can have a look at, or you can analyze your data through the SPSS analysis. But manually, actually, I could provide here, or next week we could have a discussions about this one, or after the course, on how to analyze manually the samples of correlations. Yeah. Okay, and the coefficient the correlation coefficient, it's symbolized R, a little r, a small r. The second one is coefficient determination, symbolized R, R square. Okay, and then the next one is Spearman rho, a P. But mostly for correlation and coefficient, especially for simple correlation, it's used, researcher use person product moment formula to answer the questions of whether there is a relationship or there is no relationship between the independent or dependent variables. The kinds of correlation, like experimental research just now, there are 4 kinds or 4 types. Here in the correlational research, there are 3 kinds. The first one is cause and effect relationship. The second one is partial correlation. And the third one is multiple correlation. And the procedure, actually, there are 4. Actually, I have mentioned the simple one, like canonical correlation. So that one. And the second one is discriminant analysis. And the third one is structural equation system modeling, or SEM, and the path analysis. So in this correlational research method, we have already known about what is actually the correlational research for. There are 3 things, and how to analyze the data through the correlational coefficient. There are 3, and kinds of the correlations. There are 3, and the procedures consisting of 4. And each of these 4 ways or sequences, they have their own sequences. Okay. That's the second method in a quantitative research. correlation analysis. Next, here is the example of possible interpretations of relationship between self-esteem. So self-esteem is the independent variable and academic achievement is the dependent variable. Okay, so the dependent variable. Here you can have a look at here the examples. A simple correlation, self-esteem is correlated to the achievement, or achievement, another simple having a look at measuring the cause and effect relationship, whether achievement has the relationship between or achievement causes self-esteem or self-esteem causes achievement. The third example here is about the factor causes self-intelligence, self-esteem, and achievement. So intelligence here is independent, self-esteem also independent, achievement is dependent. So independent is correlated to independent self-esteem and is also correlated to with the dependent achievement. So it's about looking at the factor, causes factor. The last example is home environment. The third factor causes for both, like home environment causes self-esteem, high self-esteem, or better, for example, better home environment causes someone's high self-esteem, or less home environment of student causes the student's achievement, whether it high in achievement or low achievement. So that's an example of possible interpretations of a relationship between self-esteem and the academic achievement. That's just the example. You can also explore more examples in the sources I provide. Okay. So the last one is survey. So the third method, the third main, actually lots of, but the third main method in the quantitative research is survey. What's actually the survey? What is survey for? The survey actually to find out the participants or respondents' characteristics, such as to survey or to do the survey about the age of the respondents, the education, the social class, race, and like their current attitudes towards some issue. Okay, for instance, like if you're going to, if you're interested in doing the survey, in what age that the bachelor degree in your university commonly moderately finish their study, you could have also this one of the method, a survey in what age that these students have just these students finish their study, or in what age is the freshman starting to show their self-confidence in speaking, for instance. That's in the category of the age. So many more things that you could have or you could survey. Survey involves large participants. Okay, and the survey techniques, actually there are some here I provide. The first one is planning. So before you do the survey, you have to plan who is actually your participant, or what you're going to survey, or what aspect will you measure. Okay, after you plan, you also know that who is actually your participants, then you have already prepared the you know that who actually your participants. Now you have to define who is actually this population. Okay, who is your population? Are they children or kindergarten students? Okay, are they senior high school students? And you have to do the sampling. You don't need to take all or total population to do the survey, but you have to see, you have to use the sampling. Whether you could have um, some sampling later in the next subject. We are going to talk about sampling technique for both qualitative and quantitative. So for instance, you're gonna have, or you're gonna choose a random, for instance, a simple random sampling for almost 1,000 bachelor degree from, for example, students in the universities in the Southeast Sulawesi. So do the sampling. Okay, it enables you to do your work easily and to focus. The next things you have to do in the survey or before doing the survey is you construct the instrument. Construct the instrument. Okay. Usually the instrument used is questionnaire. I've been experiencing surveying research scholars who or researcher who use this method. Okay. That they mostly use questionnaire, online questionnaire. And then you have to provide or construct the instrument like interview, questionnaire, or questionnaire. Yeah. And then after you construct the instrument, you conduct the survey. How you conduct the survey? You can do via interview. Okay. You can also do through the focus group discussion, FGD, or you can also, this one is very simple one, mail the questionnaire. But now actually, you don't need to work hard to mail a questionnaire, because if your participant is a universal college student, they are familiar with the smartphone, and then just transfer or distribute your questionnaire through using the Google form. So they just do it very quick, and make sure that the questionnaire, your instrument is reliable and valid. Okay. Another thing in conducting the survey is doing an internet survey. For instance, you have the monkey survey. And after you conduct the survey, you collect the data, you process the data. So process the data. Okay, that's about survey. So if you are interested, so please think now from three main methods in a quantitative research: experimental research, correlational research, and survey. Which one do you think is much easier for you in your level to do the research? If you think like experimental research is easier, so which type of experimental research you would like to use? Would you like to use pre-experimental, only one group, you do the pre-test, treatment, and post-test, or the quasi one, or the correlational studies, or the survey? So think it this week, and you could also send your responses in the Alumni chat. Okay, let me continue before we end the course today. Survey categories. So there are 4 survey categories, like census tangible, census intangible, sample survey of tangible, and sample survey of intangible. And based on the time dimension of doing the survey, there are 2 dimensions. The first one is longitudinal survey and cross-sectional survey. We would like to have a look at that explanation further in the question and answer session after the you have a look at this video. Okay, so for individual presentation, as I mentioned previously about you have to sharpen your knowledge after you listen my presentation. You have to do the self-independent study, like identify and distinguish of these 3 research method I mentioned. And like last week, qualitative, you have the responsibility to present or to talk about each of these kind of method in quantitative, pre-experimental for experimental, through experimental and post-experimental. We skip factorial design, yeah. And then for the correlational one, we have partial, cause effect, and multiple, and also for survey. Okay, I hope that every one of you are responsible for presenting based on your opinion, what you have understood from this explanation and what you have read from the sources I share. And then you could also report this your comprehension next week. Okay, the references are still the same. We use the same references for like qualitative last week, and these actually references are also the informations of quantitative research method are also in this book. So three main books. So I guess everyone, that's all from me. I hope every one of you yeah, you understand, even it's very brief explanation, but I really hope that you understand a bit, and then you could ask more question and we could have more sharing. Like I promised that I'm going to talk about sampling methods, both for qualitative and quantitative data, how to select the sample or the participants. So I guess that's all from today. I wish I could see you next week, and I really would hope that you could watch another video from me, another presentation next week. Thank you so much. That's all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Stay healthy. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you so much. See you next week. Bye.